Hi, I'm Tracy Mancini, president of Carteret Community College, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in for our inaugural episode of Bytes, the official podcast of Carteret Community College. Joining us today for our first episode is Mayor Sharon Harker from Beaufort, North Carolina.
Start here.
Move forward. Learn local.
Carteret Community College, a sound education.
Hi, I'm Tracy Mancini, president of Carteret Community College, and this is our first podcast, and I'm proud to welcome my friend and now mayor of Beaufort, where I live, Mayor Sharon Harker, with us today. Sharon, welcome.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mancini. Since we're having a casual conversation, can I call you Tracy?
Please do,
All right,
Sharon.
please call me Sharon. We've been friends for a long time.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for joining us today. And we're very excited that you have become the mayor, first African-American mayor of Beaufort, and glad to have you here. I wanted to ask you a few questions about how you got to this place. And as I was preparing, I was thinking about one of my favorite books, which is called Composing a Life by Mary Catherine Bateson. She's the daughter of anthropologist Margaret Mead. And in that book, she covers and traces the lives of 4 successful women who have, because of having children and husbands and marriages and divorces and just life in general, have taken really circuitous routes to their final success.
Right.
And I don't think this is your final success at all, but I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your journey to being the mayor of Beaufort.
Well, as a woman, we encompass a lot of roles, and I think you've mentioned a lot of those. I am a wife. I've been married for 40 years, and I have 3 adult children. So I've been in training to do leadership for quite some time now. I'm also a grandmother of 2 adorable grandchildren. And my role started out with just me wanting to be the best mom that I could be. That was my first and I guess my best job ever. So I was an at-home mom for a while. And then I went back to school and began to get an education that was going to allow me to have some flexibility so I continued to be with my family, as well as offer me something satisfying as a woman getting back into the workplace. So I chose to go back to Carteret Community College to take a look at it. I have a bachelor's degree, but I have an associate's degree that actually has put me into the workplace on a job that I actually love. So I started out going back and taking a look at several programs there. This is back in the 90s. I know you guys have advanced 100-fold since then. But paralegal was one of the programs. I looked at being a real estate agent. I didn't think I could do that because I'd wanted to buy everything I saw. And then I went to radiology and looked at their programs. I wound up shadowing a respiratory therapist at New Hanover Medical, and that's where it stuck for me. I saw myself growing in that field, and it's something that I could really do and feel that I made a difference in this world. So I decided to go to school and have 3 children going to school at the same time, and I worked part-time. So I've worn multiple hats. And it does take a village, I think, in order to raise me. But it was very impactful. All those things that were part of my life was really putting me on the journey to be where I am right now. And sometimes you don't realize that until you get to a point of, aha, all those things that I went through has prepared me for this moment right now. And I wouldn't change a thing.
That's so great. I think that's one of the points of the book, Composing a Life, is that even though sometimes the jobs you've had or roles you've had seem disparate, seem like they are not related at all, sometimes you learn skills and have experiences in those different places that really help you get to where you're ultimately headed.
Exactly. And sometimes we feel like we may not be on that path, but we really are. So now you are reading a book, and I've been reading a book too here lately. This one is called Abundance. And a lot of times we have a tendency to look at the lack in our life. But when you look at lack, you receive lack. But if you look at your life in an abundant fashion, abundance comes to you. And I've been reading this, and it's really been the part of my journey. I've stopped looking at the things that I couldn't do or shouldn't do or didn't have the education to do. I looked at the qualities that I did have to bring to the table. I was very abundant in those. And I took that and let that lead me onto my journey.
That's such a good, inspiring message. And it's the kind of message we need to share with our students at Carteret Community College. And some of what you said before reminded me of our students also, because a lot of our students are parents. And they come back to school and they end up modeling being a good student for their children. And so did you find that your children were watching you study and choose a career?
I didn't think they were paying attention. I don't think you really realize how much your children are paying attention to you. All three of our children do have educations, and they've gotten them on all different levels. We have one with a master's degree, one with an associate's degree, and one who is an electrician. So each one of those children were able to find their pathway. Perry and I, who've been married for 40 years, have very similar backgrounds. Education was extremely important in our family. That was the key to independence, the key to being successful at whatever level success looks like for you. And we were able to impart that on our children, and they are, as we call it, off the payroll. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I wish that for everybody. You're going to really love it. But, they're off the payroll. They're independent. They're doing their own thing. They're raising their families. And we could sit back and say, yes, education was part of that. It drove us to do what we needed to do as good parents. And we're going to hopefully see them pay that forward. But no, I didn't think they were paying attention. I just knew that they were probably wanting to get out of my way when I was so nervous about a test or just anxious about what I was doing and just finding my pathway. They just stayed away. But I can tell you right now, they are extremely proud of me.
I'm sure they are.
Yes.
I'm sure they are. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that your husband, Perry Harker, works at Carteret Community College. He's been with us for 30 years, which is truly wonderful. And he is our Vice President for Corporate and Community Education. How has being married to Perry Harker influenced your understanding and the role the community college plays in Carteret County?
Well, I've been, like I said, with Perry for 40 years, and I remember his first day on the job. And he was very ambitious, had great ideas. He's a workaholic and always wants to put his best foot forward. And over the years, I've seen him mature into this role to the point where he has made relationships throughout the state and has helped many people locally find their career path. And that's been very satisfying for him. So although he's 30 years into it, he still loves what he does. What he's brought home to the table for me is that he's included me in his journey. We've traveled together. He's gone and served on boards that are statewide boards. And being able to get out there and to see myself maybe in that role too. So that allowed me to have some exposure. And then there are times when we've talked about things, career pathways and things of that nature. So watching him in this role, he has become what I call expert in this field, and he's created great relationships. And that's how we both are. We are relationship type people. We know that we cannot do this by ourselves. So partnerships has always been very key. And he's been my greatest partner ever.
That's great. That's great. Well, you and I have something in common in that we have both broken a glass ceiling of sorts. I'm the first female president at Carteret Community College, the sixth president, but first female, and you're the first African-American mayor of Beaufort. How does that feel, and what responsibilities or thoughts do you have about that role?
Well, first off, I like to say it's about time, right? Being the first at anything, there is a great honor in that, and it's also a great responsibility because people are going to be watching you in this role. So I think it's important for us to reflect back on the people that helped us get to this point. We didn't get here by ourselves, per se, but also the responsibility of paying it forward. You and I have both worked hard to get here, haven't we? And I think that it's important that people realize that although it didn't come as soon as we probably hoped it would, but it is coming. And the world's changing, and the workplace for women, as far as minorities are concerned as well, that's changing too. So hopefully we could break that glass ceiling that makes people doubt whether they can or cannot do these things. That's what the big thing is. Can I or cannot? I don't always see a woman in this position, or I don't always see a minority in this position. We've broken that. Go, high five.
Absolutely. Well, we talk about that a lot at the college, that students need to be able to see faculty and staff members and administrators who look like them so that they can envision that path for themselves. And so we're really making a more concerted effort to make sure we're bringing everyone to the table and making sure everyone feels welcomed on campus. We spent the last year working on a diversity, equity, and inclusion a statement at the college, and we discovered a lot of really interesting things in the process. We discovered that we had a consultant work with us on that, and said that we have a culture of nice at our college, in that no one wants to acknowledge that there's any issue with diversity on campus. We treat everyone the same, is sort of the tagline there. Right. But really, we have to learn to talk about it. We have to learn to be candid and address when there are inequities, and address when we do feel like we're not being treated the same way. And that's not just race or ethnicity, it's with lifestyle and gender, all sorts of aspects of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the college has taken on this initiative. I believe it's going to pay off greatly, because you're going to be bringing people in. Diversity makes the world go round. You know, sometimes if you have a boat and you don't have oars, you're going to have to rock it in order to get it to move. So having those difficult conversations just allows for growth, and it's not designed to separate. It's just designed to get to know the person a little bit deeper. Yeah. And nice is nice.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I do like nice. So if you want to be nice to me all the time, please do.
But we try to be both and. We try to be nice and inclusive.
All right. Well, I like nicer better. But include me in the nice.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the mission of the community college system is to have an open door and to welcome everyone. So we want to make sure everyone feels that way when they get to our campus. Something else that we have in common is that we are working on our new strategic plan at the college, and I think that the town of Beaufort is doing a lot of planning right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you hope for at the end of that process?
Well, I think every year we should start with a strategic plan. Beaufort has something very unique, when the fact that we've got 3 new commissioners and a new town mayor, and then a new town manager. Excuse me. So we've got a lot of new people in place. All of them have a certain set of skills, but we are planning a retreat currently, the town manager and myself, so that we can try to get everybody pretty much as close as we can to being on the same page. We want to be able to crystallize 5 or 6 different visions so that we can serve our citizens. So the retreats are very important. It's long-term, short-term planning. It does have some budgetary topics that are in there, because we do have to spend our citizens' monies wisely and the way they like to see it being spent. And then we just address other issues that will help us govern better. And I think I'm hoping in my term as mayor, we do this not just every now and then, but to do it every year. You want to be able to start that year off as fresh as possible and online as possible. And I think that's what you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, that's right. We are. We have a new mission statement.
Oh, very good.
I'm very excited because I've memorized it.
Okay, you want to tell me?
Oh, sure. Thanks. Okay. I'd be glad to.
I'm going to take notes.
Okay. Carteret Community College serves and empowers our students and coastal community by providing high-quality education, workforce training, and lifelong enrichment in an innovative and inclusive learning environment.
That is
good,
great.
Huh?
That's pretty good, actually. Very good.
I'm going to start offering prizes at work for anyone who can recite it without reading it. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does that include people outside? I like prizes, too. I'll come to your office to recite it one day.
But it is, having a mission and making sure everything you do aligns with that mission is so critical. Right. And we really do want to serve the entire community. So one of the things we've taken on over the past year and a half is we applied for and received 2 USDA grants. They were distance learning and telemedicine grants, and it's enabled us to partner with some agencies and organizations in the county to put technology in their locations so we could offer distance learning courses synchronously or remotely, or virtually, asynchronously at those spots. And it might be more convenient for people in those communities to go to those places and take a course than to come to our campus. Right. And so a few of those sites are in Beaufort.
Absolutely, yes. One of them will be at the Beaufort Housing Authority's Community Center.
That's right.
And that's a great place for it to be. A lot of times people don't realize transportation is a big issue in its county. Not everybody has a car. And we have spread a lot of our services across the county where you need to have a vehicle in some cases to get to these services. We've spoken with Perry about that, and I was like, can we get something down here in Beaufort so that we can have our citizens attend classes? And you guys are working that initiative. You're using that money wisely. And I think, once again, it's going to pay off. We're going to have our citizens feel empowered. I think most people really want to have the tools to succeed. And sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to get to those things, which makes them disheartened and sometimes maybe given up. You're going to be giving people a lot more hope having that annex there at the Beaufort Housing Authority. I'm excited.
Thanks. We are too. And we're looking forward to implementing that and then tracking it, seeing how it's used and if it's effective.
Yes. I think it will be. It may be slow in the very beginning because sometimes we become creatures of habit and not sure if things are going to stick. But stick it out, and I think it will be a great thing for the area. Yeah.
So I have a question for you that we didn't talk about earlier, but
surprise question.
I noticed at your inauguration as mayor, there was a Zumba team in the background, and that you're part of that group, and it was a really lively addition to that installation. Do you think you might want to teach Zumba at Carteret Community College sometime?
Well, no, actually, I was an aerobic instructor. I started with jazzercise. These are some of the little small jobs I had when I was an at-home mom, so it didn't take my focus away, but allowed for me to earn a little extra money. I was a personal trainer. I went into Reebok Step. So, fitness is very important to me. Zumba, I taught Zumba for a little while to cover a class for a friend who was going to be out for surgery. But I have gotten to the point where I love being the participant. It's fun. It's the people are really one of the things that I go back for. And as you can see, we travel in a large group. But every time that we've had something important to celebrate in our lives, we've all gotten together, made special T-shirts, and we'll pick one of our favorite songs and then perform it at that event. So I ran for town commissioner in 2015. I was very successful at that. They were there. I ran again in 2019 and was reelected. They were there again. So it would be a no-brainer for them to be there, being sworn in as mayor.
That's so great. Well, like you said before, it takes a village. And
it takes a village.
Really, we have that at the college, too. Maybe we could hire them on to be success coaches at Carteret Community College.
Yes, you do something great, we'll come to a wonderful routine. Yeah. The whole thing is that you have to join in. So there's no sidebars. You have to get in there, know the routine, and do it. But
that's great.
It's a way, this is a community. We are all in need of a community, especially during this time that we're going through. We want to be able to stay connected, and they help keep me focused. I love them all.
That's so great. Yeah. Well, in your day job at the hospital, have you seen a lot of the adverse effects of the pandemic, COVID-19, and what can you tell us about that and how you think Beaufort is addressing that right now?
Well, the pandemic has rocked everybody's world. Healthcare or not, from businesses to education, we're all trying to maneuver to adapt to something that is extremely unpredictable. We don't know very much about this virus, especially in the very beginning. At the hospital, they're doing the things that they needed to do in order to take care of their patients. That's always been our focus. And there are times where we've had to pull in people like myself. I'm an admin right now, but I'm also a respiratory therapist, still remain licensed. So I've had to close my doors and go out there and be part of the supplemental staff because the workload was so unprecedented. People coming in and some of them not having the greatest outcome. I think that is the biggest takeaway for us at the hospital is that we care about these patients a lot They may not be our mothers or fathers, but when you start taking care of somebody, nobody wants to lose anyone. So that's taken a big hit and toll on people. You just can't not watch this and not have some form of effect as far as that's concerned. As far as the town or of Beaufort, we listen to our citizens and see where their comfort levels are. We do take a look at the numbers as well. Our businesses also have a say in it and how we travel and move around. We had very little knowledge about what was going on initially. We have a little bit more today. We still have a little bit more PPE than we started with. That's the one thing. You have to always reflect back where you were to find out that where you are right now, there is some forms of improvement, but we still have to deal with the virus. I don't think a virus will ever go away, whether it's Omicron or Delta, whatever they call it. We live in this world, so we're always going to have to deal with it. Just try to deal with it as safely as possible. The vaccine has been out for a while, and some people are slow walking their decisions, and some people are just going right in there to go ahead and take that risk. But it is showing to be pretty effective at reducing the signs and symptoms. So recovery should be quicker. It's not going to stop you from getting the virus, but it's just supposed to help that recovery. So, we can just try to be as safe as possible until we can work things out. Yeah. How's the college doing?
Well, the college is doing well. We have gone to masks recommended, and we're still strongly encouraging people to take precautions on campus and doing everything we can to hold vaccination clinics with the Broad Street Clinic on our campus, and the public's invited to come in, and we open those up to students, staff, and faculty as well. So we're just hoping and praying that this comes to an end soon and that things return to a little bit more of a normal way of life. Yes. And we're delighted, though, that we've been able to continue along and that so many of our students have been able to progress toward reaching their academic goals and career goals. And so we're doing everything we can to keep people safe and moving forward.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Want to be able to achieve that goal.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, it's been a pleasure talking
Tracy,
with you,
same
learning
here.
a little bit more about your background. We're so glad. And we'd like to thank you for joining us. And now you're in the know.